I did not write to Jean or Anne primarily because I did not know what to write them. Nothing had changed in our situations, and I didn't want to go over old ground I had covered a dozen times. There was nothing new to discuss. If I felt there would be, I'd resolve it in my writing. I thought it best that they planned their futures without me, and perhaps they would attain what they were seeking without me being in the way to hamper them. It never occurred to me that they would presume something befell me, and that was the reason they received no communications from me. I felt as I reasoned all along that it was best I not write. I went to the PX for a Coke to listen to music on the jukebox and sort of unwind. Renee was on my mind, but I did not let it overpower me to the point of trying to fathom out every detail that was bothering me. I would just have to accept certain things as they were, since there was nothing I could do about them. Maybe the next several days, when I saw her again, she would explain some of the items on my mind. That night, as I lay in bed with its clean white sheets and pillow, I wondered if I would again have the luxury of sheets and pillows. Perhaps never. I wondered what Renee was doing and thought it must be very lonely in that house all by herself. I thought that was fascinating. I thought she was a fascinating person. She was, yet so mysterious. As I became drowsy, I thought perhaps she seemed so different and alluring because she was in Paris, emanating from a different culture and background. I knew that she was Catholic, for I could see numerous religious pictures and icons throughout the house. The last thing I recalled before I fell asleep was that a certain one thing was indisputable. She was beautiful, and she held me in a sway. She was provocative, yet I could not get her out of my mind. The next morning after chow, we fell out in the courtyard for the last time. Some of the nurses and doctors came to say goodbye. The major had written my love remarks on my diagnostic chart, came out and shook my hand and wished me luck regarding me to take advantage of my last 2 or 3 days of freedom. I smiled sheepishly and said I would try, then thanked him for everything. There were 2 6x6s, which meant there were about 24 men leaving the hospital for that last time. I really did not know any of them personally, having only seen them about the hospital area occasionally. I thought it was strange that the staff sergeant at the other end of the ward was not leaving with us. I found out later at the convalescent hospital that he was being waited back to sent to the United States to be discharged with a Section 8. Section 8. Huh. I would never suspect his condition, as such it gave me much concern. It seemed strange to be riding back in a 6x6 again instead of an ambulance. As we cleared the front courtyard of the hospital, I was reminded this was the beginning to the road back. Back to K-rations, wet feet, sleepless nights, bitter cold, and the returning of the gnawing sensation of fear in the pit of my stomach every time there was an attack order or a patrol to go on, or just sweating out a cold, miserable night. The dread that night, make it though that night was the next house or turn in the road, would be my last and final, felled by some impersonal enemy who had the same fear and apprehension I harbored. We reached Etampes in the morning, mid-morning, on a bright, crisp day, and were ushered into a large assembly hall. It reminded me of the days at Swift and Breckenridge, where we'd be get into an orientation briefing as new recruits. This was familiar, but it had undercurrents, shadows of things to come, events I was too familiar with. As a young first lieutenant briefed us at length regarding our stay here and what it would entail. We would be here for at least 2 weeks and no longer than 3 weeks, barring some unseen medical circumstance. After our stay here, we will be transferred to a redeployment center and eventually rejoin our respective units. We went on to say that we would revert to the garrison status while here, i.e. bunk beds, policing the area, adhering to military courtesy, and above all, complying with all directives. There would be no roster duty, no type of duty of any kind. Sick call, if needed, would be at 800 hours. The only other formation would be reveille at 700 hours. Passes would be issued each day starting at 1200 hours, and the sign-in time would be 0100 hours. I thought that was great. It fit into my exact plans what I had told Renee yesterday. We would settle in today and get started away with our sleeping quarters and get acquainted with our new home for the next several weeks. I was situated in a large barracks-like room with 30 other ex-patients. Some were already here and others, like myself, have just arrived. Like every aspect of the Army life, this was the same. People would be coming and going at all times. There'd be a steady stream of new arrivals, as many departures in any particular period. After obtaining my sleeping assignment on the top bunk, I started to roam about to get the feel of the place. Someone mentioned that this was a former Luftwaffe headquarters, and it reminded me a little of a red tile barracks at Fort Sam Houston. This place was a little smaller than a hospital we had just left. From all the appearance and well kept, the corridors were wide with wooden paneled ceilings, boxed with large square timbers, forming a rectangular pattern throughout its entirety. Chris is going to call in 1 minute or so.
Okay.
So do you want to put on hold or we can wait for his call?
Yeah, I think we shut down now. All right, more tomorrow.